I thank the gentleman for yielding and speak today alarmed at the spending that's going on in Washington, D.C. But more specifically, Mr. Speaker, I want to talk about the President's ignoring Article 2, Section 2 of the U.S. Constitution that says that when you appoint somebody who's part of your administration in a significant role that you need to have advice and consent of the U.S. Senate. But irrespective of this, President Obama has named 33 czars outside of the traditional infrastructure of Washington. Now, Czarist Russia in its day had 18 czars over a 300-year period of time, but here in a 7-month period of time, President Obama now has 33 czars. I guess his vision is a czarist America. I'm not a Lake czar, a regulatory czar, an automobile czar, a Guantanamo closure czar, a TARP czar, a new TARP czar, all kinds of different czars, none of which have gone in front of the U.S. Senate. Now, why is going in front of the U.S. Senate important, aside from the constitutional requirement? Well, for one thing, you get an automobile czar who's got some shady business dealings, a 31-year-old who doesn't know a spark plug from a lug nut. Why do you think this person could turn around Detroit? Well, we found out now he's on his way out the door ignominiously. Maybe that embarrassment to the administration could have been prevented had this 31-year-old boy genius auto czar had to sit in front of the Senate, as do judicial appointees and cabinet appointees. And I think a lot of people think, well, yeah, the Senate approves cabinet members, but also deputy undersecretaries. Hundreds and even thousands of people have to come before the U.S. Senate for the constitutional requirement, and the Constitution can be inconvenient to this administration. I realize that, but again, Article 2, Section 2 says you must seek advice and consent of the U.S. Senate. How about the energy czar? The energy czar is a member of some wacko socialist group that believes the way to deal with global warming is for large industrial countries, i.e. United States of America, this would be non-czarist America, that they have to shrink their economies in order to offset their emissions. That's the belief of the group that the energy czar belongs to. Wouldn't it be interesting to talk to the energy czar and ask her why she thinks this is a good group to be a member of? What would the socialist group have to offer to the United States of America at this point? Or perhaps the Senate would like to talk to the stimulus accountability czar. The word accountability attracts my attention because the stimulus accountability czar spent... Can I have more minutes?
I yield the gentleman additional minute.
The gentleman is recognized for an additional minute.
I thank the gentleman. And the stimulus accountability czar spent $18 million designing a web page. Show of hands, how many of you want some of that action? $18 million to design a web page? Talk about stimulating the economy. Boy, that was one way to spend our money. Again, advice and consent, the U.S. Senate. Article 2, Section 2 may have avoided that type of expenditure. And what do these people get paid, Mr. Speaker? $172,000 a year. 33 people times $172,000, not to mention the myriad of staffs and entourage that we, important people in Washington, D.C., have to go everywhere with. You never see somebody just walking in by him or herself. You always see the entourage that tells the whole world, I am important. And therefore, I get back to the constitutional question. If you are important, and you have to have this big staff that costs millions of dollars to the taxpayers, why not comply to the U.S. Constitution, Article 2, Section 2, advice and consent of the U.S. Senate? And I yield back the balance of my time.
Gentleman's time has expired.